Alrighty, guys, we're back. Episode 3. Christian, you're here with me again. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Good to be back. Excited for this episode.
Yeah, me too, man. I think it's been a little bit, but we got a lot to get into today. Uh, we're gonna specifically be talking kind of about some players, individual situations. Um, I think we wanted to start off with Kyrie Irving. We've got some breaking news today. He's not going to be playing with Brooklyn until he gets vaccinated, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Nash has been answering questions, seems like for 2 weeks now. And I believe it came out a couple days ago. Steve Nash said that he was going to be in on the decision. Sean Marks, KD, and James are all going to be sitting together to basically come to a conclusion on would they allow Kyrie to play a part-time role with the New York Nets this year.
Yeah, no, it's I think that's an interesting actually development there because if you go to the origin of this Brooklyn team, it was KD and Kyrie kind of signing there together. And
Mm-hmm.
now, KD gets his old butt. He kind of got back with his ex and Harden. And and all of a sudden, like it's yeah, man, you know how to come home tonight.
Hey, they got their groove back together. KD and James Harden. People forget they've been to a finals together.
Oh
So I
no,
mean, there's history there.
there's it's been a while, but and um so I think that is kind of crazy. And even bigger news, I don't know if you caught this, but they're Brooklyn came out and said they're not going to offer no extension for Kyrie or anything like that. So
Yeah.
his
Uh-huh.
future with that team is completely in limbo right now.
Well, I believe something. I read about that earlier today, but I think something that's completely gone unnoticed was that quote that James Harden has said out of Nets practice, saying that he's never been a free agent before. He's never tested free agency, and now he's starting to change his tune a little bit because the plan going into the off season for the next the this past off season for the Nets big three was KD signs an extension, Kyrie signs an extension, and Harden signs an extension. So now with Kyrie, in limbo, now we got James Harden over seeing a different tune. Now he's like, well, hey, wait a minute, everybody. Like, I've never tested free agency before. So that's gotta have Sean Marks and the Nets ownership feeling a little uneasy with James Harden now kind of switching up his tune a little bit because he should be under contract again. He should have signed his extension already.
Not gonna lie, you kind of perked my ears up right there. We're supposed to talk about Kyrie, and I'm like, oh shit, wait, James Harden might be leaving. Like, hold up.
No, that's
um,
that's definitely we can get into that a little later for sure. But that's another development in this whole situation.
well, I think going back to how you said there was kind of a contingency of heads in that organization that kind of
Mm-hmm.
came to this decision. What is weird to me is you have to know like KD and presumably James, but mostly Durant had to have been in talks with Kyrie as well. So
Mm-hmm.
him deciding that he's gonna do this have this stance and stuff, and KD kind of being that buffer because they were married into this together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just interesting to me to that we've gone this far, and it's kind of been a theme with Kyrie, right? Ever since leaving Cleveland, it's been in Boston. He's had his that was a terrible situation with everything that happened there. Um, yeah, he's just kind of this is kind of his mo where, man, almost any story can come out about Kyrie, and I'm gonna believe it.
No, 100%. We just had Kevin Durant a week ago saying that he doesn't know what Kyrie was gonna do, but in his head, he was envisioning him being a part of the next championship pursuit. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's envisioning, like this is a guy I have to believe he's the closest to Kyrie in that organization. And if he was still kind of in the dark, I can only imagine how ownership felt. Now, I'm not sure if this was just a rumor, if this was ever confirmed that there was a vaccination appointment set up. This has been reported. I heard Kendrick Perkins say this on First Take a couple days ago, and apparently Kyrie no showed. So I don't know if he had a change of heart. I don't know what's going on, but I think it came to a point when they were playing against Philadelphia the other night, and Kyrie was eligible to participate in that preseason game because they were obviously on the road. Him not participating, I think, spoke volumes of what we later heard come from the organization today, basically saying, you know what, he's going to be apart from the team unless he's going to be fully vaccinated. I think they're like, you know what, this is just too much.
Well, the way Kyrie put it, and he put out a statement kind of saying that he's not anti-vaccine, that he's protesting it due to the mandates forcing people out of work, right? And when
The
I hear
voice
that,
for the voiceless, correct?
yeah, the voice for the voiceless, exactly. I'm glad you're laughing, dude, because like, no, it's no disrespect to Kyrie Irving, but
None.
I, LeBron James isn't a big enough voice to carry a whole population. So
Yes.
Kyrie, just you got to do things like this. You can't be an outlier. It's got to be a large contingency of players, but backing it to really make a difference here. But what's interesting to me is that he's putting kind of a cause behind it, which kind of tells me he's not going to really change his stance anytime soon, personally, because when you put a cause behind it, all of a sudden it's like, all right, well, unless that changes, I'm not going to change. So with that being said, it kind of made sense for Brooklyn to kind of say, hey, just stay home because it's not going to change anytime soon. I don't know. Do you have different feelings?
No, I'm convinced he's not getting that vaccination, at least not to start the season. Now, who knows what could transpire? Before the news came out that they rescinded the offer for his extension, I was kind of thinking, well, who knows, maybe around Christmas time, January, he starts getting that itch. He wants to come back and hoop. But when a team starts taking off like their future, when they start planning to not have you for the future, I think they're starting to call shots now. They're not being reactionary to what he's doing. They're starting to be proactive with this whole Kyrie Irving thing, saying, you know what, we're going to make plans not to have you here. So now, whatever decision I believe he's ultimately going to make, which is not getting vaccinated, he's not going to have a future with that team anymore. This isn't something where he's going to get vaccinated around All-Star break and come back. I believe pretty soon he'll be away from the team. I think I don't know, with the player association getting involved, if he can be cut. I don't know what the red tape is behind that, but I don't see him joining this team at any point this season.
Do you think Kyrie Irving's played his last game in a Brooklyn uniform?
Absolutely. I think the news of them taking off that offer for that extension, I think that was a fort. That because, mind you, they don't rescind that offer without the blessing of Kevin Durant and James Harden. That means KD is fully aware that they're starting to make plans for the future without his boy. They don't make that move without involving Kevin Durant.
Yeah, no, 100%. KD, because at the end of the day, if you're Brooklyn, KD is the biggest voice in your organization. And I think the only reason Kyrie was there in the first place was because KD wanted him.
Absolutely, because let's be real, we saw what Kyrie did with the Boston Celtics. They had Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, Al Horford. They had some hoopers on that team, and they performed better without him. They performed better without him. Let's just be honest. So the what they were building in Brooklyn with culture and all that stuff, they weren't gonna. I don't think they were gonna make a run at Kyrie.
You could add to this too, low key, because Kyrie, Harden, and KD last year only played 8 games together, and they still end up winning like 60-70% of their games with the defensive problems, all this shit. That team wasn't perfect, but and think about how close they were. Just KD by himself. So,
You
like
know what?
to taking down Milwaukee. So I don't know. He's kind of expendable in a way.
To bring it back full circle, I think the decision that might have been the most slept on as far as um the most critical decision I feel like Kyrie Irving has done the past 2 seasons is that sabbatical he took when he just disappeared. Because they got to see, going to your point, what they could do without him. That was a mistake for Kyrie Irving. He should have played every dribble he could have, where they couldn't envision their roster without him. Well, because he wanted to go on vacations, they had no choice but to see what they looked like without him. So they already have a sample size of their team without him involved. So to me, I think that's a bigger decision because let's say they all played the last year. Let's say they got to the finals. Let's say they lost, or let's say they fell to Milwaukee, right? But they had the big three there the entire time. I feel like the organization would be a lot more apprehensive to go away from Kyrie with the unknown. But man, they saw like Harden is enough. Harden by himself is a system.
It helps too when you sign Patty Mills. Patty Mills isn't a star or anything like that, but he could step into that starting role, and with the guys on the
Absolutely.
team, Joe Harris, they got a good enough roster where Patty Mills, like, it's not the end of the world.
It's definitely not the end of the world. This is, man,
Now
this is gonna be,
on
uh-huh.
the flip side, just kind of play devil's advocate here, okay? If
Go for
and
it.
I'm thinking more like on the Brooklyn side of things here. You kind of no longer have any room for injuries, right? Last year they were kind of injury riddled, but the whole thing was, well, we have three guys, so if one goes down, we're still going to have two. Well,
Mhm.
now, KD put a lot of miles on that recovering Achilles. Harden had some troubles with like hamstrings and stuff last year.
Mhm.
He's a notorious champagne campaign guy around the league. So you never know what kind of shape he's in.
Oh,
And and
I think we'll continue.
well, and just like how that could take a toll, as he progressively, gets older. Um, this team
What?
now, like, kind of is thin on the injury front.
Well, I had questions putting Kyrie aside. I had questions about their health coming into the season because we understand what Kevin Durant represents. He came back. I was really happy that he was able to come back from his injury. The league is better with him, obviously hooping, but a lot of people got were prisoner of the moment of his performance towards the end of the season regarding the playoffs and him winning an Olympic gold medal over there in the Olympics. But he missed a large part of the season. Like he was not healthy. He still has to prove he can play a healthy season. And then you looked at James Harden. James Harden has a lot of miles on his body. He ran a D'Antoni system for seasons. That man was putting the Houston Rockets franchise on his back for years. So it's going to be interesting. Like, was that a glimpse of more to come? Hopefully it's not. But they've got some injury questions. I'm glad you brought that up. They're not gonna have the luxury of, oh, I'll chill tonight. We'll let the other two go out there. Oh, I'm gonna take tonight. No. Ain't none of that. And the East got better, by the way. There's a lot of teams that are putting the Brooklyn Nets on notice. The Chicago Bulls, come on now, they're gonna be in the fold. So the injury point is definitely a really good point that you bring up.
Well, it's just interesting because I'm like, man, like you said, the East is better. You have these guys take more rest days, and like even Vegas sees it. You look at a team like Brooklyn, and usually when the over under comes out, and a team like that, they're a 60-win team. I mean, they have them at, I think, like 56 or something like that. And to
Mhm.
me, that's kind of like the rest days, the injury stuff. I think and you see it with the Lakers too, where they're kind of lower. And it's a reality of the league right now that players just aren't playing as many games. And so when you kind of have a top heavy team like Brooklyn does, and they have some depth, like, don't get me wrong, like, I think, like I said, Patty Mills, I think drafting Cam Thomas is going to help them at least. He could give you that kind of rational confidence, couple minutes where he could come and hit some shots.
Definitely. Little microwave moment.
Little microwave moments, exactly. So they have some guys where they could kind of piece together a game here or there, but if you get one of these guys to miss a chunk of the season, man, it could get tough.
Absolutely, absolutely. Plus, who are their wings? Like actual wings. Like if you had a sicker player on Trae Young in the postseason to go out there and defend, who's defending Trae Young? Like they have no depth at the wing position when you look at it.
Well,
They've
Trae Young's
got
a
the
guard though.
well, Ben Simmons was locking him up. He's a wing.
Oh, Ben Simmons he's a perimeter defender though. You know what I mean? Like, so if you're looking at the Brooklyn roster, who's gonna take him? I mean, I guess right now you're looking at Patty Mills.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe Brown. You could throw Brown on him. Bruce
Bruce,
Brown. Hey,
man.
Bruce. I like Bruce Brown.
Oh, you do?
I do.
You
Yeah, I do.
okay. Yeah. You
I
know,
mean, he's not
Trae
stopping
Young's gonna
Trae
love him.
Young.
Trae Young's gonna love him, brother. Zach Levine's gonna be looking at shops at your boy Bruce. Jason Tatum. Oh, Bruce, come here, Bruce.
I mean,
But
but that
I will
defensively,
say
like,
the
er,
absence of Kyrie to me, this fills a slot for some more defenders. You can I on the buyout market, if there's a 3-and-D somewhere, I'm putting him in a lineup.
yeah, they're definitely going to be one of those teams that, just like last year, when the waivers come mid-season, they're going to be involved, no doubt about it.
No more offense. No more offense on that team. They got a lot of offense. A lot
They
of it.
they do. They definitely got a lot
They
of
got a
offense.
lot of
I mean, let's just say James Harden and Kevin Durant, who are, I think, easily the two best scorers of our, like, the most last 10 years. Let's say that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No question. Throw LeBron in there and yeah.
Yeah, LeBron. There's some guys you can throw in there, but they're consistently top five guys.
Consistent. Can go get a bucket, three level scores. It's insane. But they're gonna need assistance. But I actually think this might help the Brooklyn Nets with the whole Kyrie situation. Kyrie's very important to win games, period, in the regular season because the East did get better. So it could hurt them in that respect. But as far as getting a cohesive lineup together where you have a little bit best of both worlds and you're a little bit more balanced, because the best lineups they were putting out last year, you had Kyrie, James, KD, and Harris on the floor. And there's no defender on the floor. So come postseason, I believe Steve Nash is going to have a better opportunity to mix up some lineups with the two guys that they have being James
And Durant.
James and Durant. Yeah. So I like it for them in the postseason. I really do. I think it's going to be a lot easier to put the players around Harden and Kevin to win in the postseason. They're going to feel the presence of not having Kyrie in the regular season, though. They're going to feel that.
I mean, obviously, you'd rather have him, right? You'd rather have a guy that can go out there and just take over a game. But I kind of agree with you at this point because watching them last year, just look at the box scores, and there was a big problem on that team where you had Kyrie Irving leading your team in field goal attempts when you got James Harden and Kevin Durant on the floor. He cannot be having 25 field goal attempts and Harden has 6. That's a
No,
problem. You
no.
need Harden to be aggressive. You need KD to be aggressive. And Kyrie's role on that team last year was kind of, he took on the scoring load for a lot of those games and it was kind of messing them up. Like you said, they're already deficient defensively. And Harden, while he is a great distributor, his still his best asset is his scoring and getting to the free throw line, being aggressive, and you take that away from him, and all of a sudden it's like, wow,
Because
it's
I'll tell you
not
this
the
right
same
now.
dynamic.
I would much rather have Kyrie Irving with the ball in his hands than James Harden because Kyrie's not putting most perimeter players or even my big in foul trouble. The way Harden can impact, like you said, getting to the line, he could go through your front court. He could just go through your entire front court with fouls and get to the
Mm-hmm.
line. That changes the complexion of a coach's game plan in series. Like that's a big deal. Who's getting those attempts?
Well, earlier you said this is probably going to be, or we'll never see Kyrie in a Brooklyn uniform again.
No, I don't.
um,
Yeah,
what do you think's next for him then?
you know,
Because honestly, like he doesn't have a trade market right now, right? There's no way you could take him on.
now, Scott, we've had conversations off the pod. There's an idiot out there. There's definitely a team that would take Kyrie right now. Don't tell me. Come on now. There's definitely a team. The problem is he wouldn't want to play for that caliber team. That's not going to be a winning team. Any team that has any sort of a culture or winning habits, they're not taking a chance on Kyrie. So he would retire. I believe that.
Well,
Yeah.
he came out today and said, "Don't think I'm retiring." He kind of tried shutting that down.
Oh, he came out today and said, "Don't think I'm retiring."
Yeah, he did, was quoted, I think on Instagram. He came out and said, "Don't believe that I'm retiring."
Don't believe that I'm retiring. Well, this is the same guy that had his camp come for Nick Wright after Nick Wright 2 weeks ago mentioned that he had it on good authority that his camp told him basically that he would retire. So, I mean, I don't really believe anything that Kyrie says. I'll be honest with you, actions speak louder than words. So, this is the same guy who's saying, I'm not anti vax. I'm the voice of the voiceless. So, I don't know where he's going to play. He could play on Mars for all I care, but it's not making any sense. I don't know a team that he would be willing to play for that would honestly take him. I don't know. Like, and at that point, what's the goal? Because eventually he's not going to be able to play in several different markets.
I have an idea. What about Dallas? Send him to Texas. He can play every game. Cuban needs a running mate for Luca.
So we just know for a fact that Dallas won't have to play Golden State in the postseason and won't have to play the Lakers in the postseason. So we just know that for a fact. Then.
I mean, obviously, you're gonna have your issues there. I'm just trying to throw out some teams that
Oh no,
could.
it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. You can't. Well, if they do that to go along with your premise here, if they do that, that would just be stupid. That would be so stupid. Because
Well, you
correct me if
said
I'm
it's gonna
wrong,
take an idiot.
it would take an idiot. It would. The you know what? Let me just throw the idiot franchise out there. The only team that I see that would really take Kyrie are the Pelicans.
The Pelicans, okay.
Griff, you thought I was gonna say the Kings. I know you thought I was gonna say that they was gonna add another guard. I think that's the only team that would take him. I know he's got a relationship. I mean, I don't know if it's a relationship, but familiar faces with the GM Griff from their days in Cleveland together. So I don't know, but that's it. That's it. That's all I see.
New Orleans, huh?
Jordan just came out and said, I'm a fan of science. So Jordan not gonna take him in Charlotte.
Yeah, I don't know. Kyrie's kind of he's pegged himself into this weird situation, or like weird, I don't know, just role where his character is like you can never peg him on anything.
You definitely can't. You know what? I'm gonna play with what you said for a second. You mentioned that he said, "Don't think I'm retiring." He might be trying to position himself as if he was forced not to play anymore. It wasn't his decision. He may not want to come out and be like, "Oh, I want to retire," but he might take the position of my hands were tied, so I couldn't play. Does that make sense?
If he plays that, I'm gonna be disappointed, man, because I've seen it when the league pushes a player out. We've seen what that looks
Mm,
like. Think about Carmelo
mm,
Anthony, like
mm-hmm.
we've seen
Allen Iverson.
Isaiah Thomas. Like we've
Mm-hmm.
seen what it looks like when players get pushed out, and the way they react, it gets personal, and
Yeah.
there's because this game is more like yeah, it's a game and it's these guys' jobs, but at the end of the day, it's their passion and it's their love. And if he's gonna try to play that nonchalant card, I'm gonna lose a lot of respect, and I would hope he doesn't come back at that point, because that means you're not in it for you don't care.
You don't care. And to go to piggyback off your point on the names that you mentioned, they sacrificed. They sacrificed a lot. And Kyrie has sacrificed, by the way, to get to the position that he's in. He's done a lot of sacrificing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But to mic drop, because I believe honestly, I kind of said this last year. I don't think he's that interested in playing in the NBA anymore. Notice I didn't say playing basketball. I don't think he's gonna go somewhere, put his head in the sand. He won't have a ball in his hand. I believe he loves the game, but I believe everything that comes with the association. I think he's over the media, now wanting to have certain responsibilities. I don't think he's a fan of what it comes with.
Yeah, I think it's fair. He's not the only guy in the league that I get that sense from. Um, there's a lot of guys that have come out and they don't like this and that about media and whatnot. But man, I'd still be disappointed because at the end of the day, to get there, you have to be an ultimate competitor. And watching him, how magical his finals performance was in
Oh
16,
my gosh.
like that guy he's a competitor and he's a brilliant basketball player. And it would really just be disappointing to see somebody who kind of just let outside voices and stuff. And I don't know what he's reading or what he does. I don't know Kyrie like that, but
Hmm.
it'd be disappointing to see somebody just kind of fall in love or fall out of love with the game that we love so much. And that I know, you'd mentioned the sacrifice and everything that he took to just see it kind of go to, not, I don't want to say waste, because obviously he made it somewhere, but to not really see the end of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
It'd be
that's from
disappointing.
obviously your lens. We share the same lens because we weren't in the league or anything like that. Maybe in his eyes, he's at its wits end, and for him, he's fulfilled. He got a bag and was able to be a champion. A lot of people can't say that. Yeah, a lot of players that play in this game, they got a bag with no jewelry. He has both.
And if you also like, if you want to be the voice for the voiceless, right? As he says, it's tough to do that when you kind of lose your platform.
It's a huge platform.
It,
It's a really big platform
it is
because
so.
he keeps coming for next and saying, media pawns and all that. But the only way he's got that money in that bank account is because of them. Like
Mhm.
they push the sport. Like, I'm critical of the media and all that stuff at times, but like I'm not stupid. Like they build the sport up
Yeah,
without the narratives and without all that, people don't have interest. Interest breeds money. If you're interested in something, you get money from it. Like you're willing to invest in it and grow the sport and expand the sport and make it global, which ultimately benefits your brand as one of the premier faces in the league. So I don't know. It's annoying, but at the end of the day, I'm just really, really, really glad he's not a Laker. I'm really glad he's not a Laker. And by the way, we got to put some respect, a little bit more respect on that 2016 championship, because now we know what LeBron was dealing with.
yeah. Now, and just kind of sum it up here. Kyrie. I think everything's up in the air. I don't think anybody knows what's happening. He's entered the Kawhi realm, where it's just
So why? At least
everything's
Uncle Dennis, he was leaving a paper trail of his demands. Who can we get? Can we get an auntie? Can we get an auntie of Kyrie's coming out, spilling the beans
man.
or something?
Just smell the sage, right?
Man,
I think Brooklyn will be okay. I think you're kind of having the same vibe. They got to worry about the injuries, but you still got Harden and Kevin Durant. You guys are still going to be all right. You're still going to be contending.
I,
Um,
mhm.
it's kind of transition here. Mention Uncle Dennis. We kind of have a new Uncle Dennis developing down in New Orleans
The Bayou.
in the bio. Who that?
Oh man,
um, Zion.
was it
It's
the Smoothie King? Is it Arena or Center? Is Smoothie King one of the other? The Smoothie King. I think it's Arena.
I refuse to learn it. All right. I'm
The
like,
Smoothie King.
There's so much wrong with that franchise, man.
It's a lot.
Zion Williamson. He is going into his third season now, if I believe that's correct.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's kind of a phenom, man. This guy, say what you want, but last year he averaged like 27 points. He isn't dunking on everybody like we kind of saw him do in college, but he's still just as dominant in the paint as we kind of projected him.
Anticipate it. Yeah.
Yeah. But rumblings for about a year now is he's not happy in New Orleans already. He's got kind of an Uncle Dennis situation where he's got family members in his ear really close, kind of his representation, and they're publicly pushing and putting pressure on this franchise to do better, or else he's walking. There's a lot to unpack here because obviously Zion's in his rookie deal. So he's still signed through at least 2023. Usually players sign like a 3-4 year extension. I don't know though. Could we see Zion figure out a way to get out of there early?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think we don't see this often because most people aren't as talented and as highly touted coming out of college the way Zion was. I believe he secured the Jordan deal, and that was either a $90 million deal or $100 million contract that he signed with Jordan. Either one puts him in a position to forego some of that money on that contract extension. It gives him some more leeway and some more freedom that um, most players eligible for it. It's a no-brainer. You have to re-sign that. Otherwise, you're leaving too much money on the table. So I don't see him. I don't see him signing it. I just don't see it. There's also rumblings of the franchise potentially being moved, and that's been talked about for the last few seasons now. That there could be a few different teams relocating, or they want to add teams. At this point, if you're Zion, if he's already unhappy with where the team's positioned now, do you really want to sign on for a future? You might end up playing. You don't even know where you'd get moved to potentially. That's another thing. Like at this point, I'd rather go somewhere where I know they're going to be present. They're going to be there.
So this New Orleans team, they bring in David Griffin to kind of oversee this whole rebuild. He makes the Zion Williamson pick. Um, they they just fired Stan Van Gundy. This is going to be his third coach in 3 years. The dysfunction of this franchise is just real. David Griffin's kind of done a terrible job putting the right pieces around him. Currently, I think they got, let's see, their depth chart looks like starting. They got Devontae Graham, Neil Alexander Walker, Brandon Ingram, Zion, Jonas Valanciunas, and then not much off the bench there. It's just a weird fit, when you got a guy like Zion, you got to put shooting around him. You got to put, a
the players that
playmaker.
he wants around him, such as Lonzo Ball, that he was very vocal about. He did not want Lonzo off that team.
Well, that's the thing is like Lonzo, man, his skill set married with Zion perfectly on the floor. They were
They had
perfect
chemistry.
complementary pieces. And to lose it's not like Lonzo has fulfilled his potential, man. He's still got untapped potential. Like he's a guy that could have grown with Zion, grown with this team, been a real cornerstone, and they just kind of let him walk for nothing.
He's making them look bad right now because that potential you're talking about, he's tapping it.
Yeah, and then like I don't know, you bring in Valanciunas, which I do like the fact that they got rid of Steven Adams. I think Steven Adams is plugging up the middle too much for Zion. You need to open it up. Let him get some space. Let him get to the rack, get to the free throw line. He's a pretty good passer too, where he can drive and kick and get guys open. But you bring in Valanciunas, and it's the Steven Adams without the defense. I mean, he gives you a little more in the post, but are you really going to throw it down in the post when you got BI and Zion?
I've also got a question for you. Who's the leader on this team?
Man, I mean, I would say right now is Zion.
Man. I didn't have that question until last season. They were playing the Knicks, and Gundy drew up a play towards the end of the game, and Eric Bledsoe just completely wasn't listening to the guy and fouled him when he wasn't supposed to foul. It was just a boneheaded play. And afterwards, Eric Bledsoe just had no shame and was like, "Yeah, I tuned him out and wasn't listening. It's on me, guys. I was in the timeout." And I'm like, can you imagine a teammate of KD coming out saying, "Yeah, I wasn't listening to the coach," or a teammate of LeBron or Steph coming out saying, "Yeah, I wasn't listening to our head coach"? At that point, I'm like, who's the player holding other guys accountable? Like, is there anyone that that's I don't you get what I'm saying though?
I 100% get what you're saying, and I expect nothing less of Eric Bledsoe. I also expect nothing
Oh
less
no, I forgot who I was
of
talking to.
a Stan Van Gundy led team, though. Like Stan Van Gundy traditionally has kind of alienated his players where he's had riff. The most famous one being the Dwight Howard situation.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, man, this circles back to David Griffin. And David Griffin kind of got this job off reputation of a LeBron James team, when he was still a GM too. So he comes in New Orleans, and yeah, you get gift wrapped Zion, you get gift wrapped Bi and Lonzo and Josh
Oh
Hart.
my gosh.
And I've just watched this guy do nothing with his team. So I
Nothing.
completely understand where Zion's family's coming from. I will make the preference though, like, just because his family isn't happy doesn't necessarily mean Zion's not happy. He hasn't said anything,
No,
at least
Zion's not happy.
personally.
Zion ain't happy. This man has done a terrible job trying to mask him. Now, do you remember the night of the trade lottery? I mean, not the trade lottery. I'm sorry, the draft lottery. And he was like hovering around the Knicks cap. He was like the frown he had when he got announced in New Orleans. Like there's footage put out there where we can clearly see Zion is not happy in New Orleans. And at this point, you got to tell your family to stop talking.
Well, his ways to get out of here, he could obviously try the AD route and force his trade. Just kind of unlikely because you still got, traditionally you would have restricted free agency after this extension. He could go full nuclear here. And this is my favorite scenario because I like chaos. And if he becomes a free agent 22-23 season after that season, what he could do instead of signing a New Orleans extension is he could do a 1-year qualifying offer. Now, historically, people don't usually do this. Like you said, it's just you got to secure the bag. Like Greg Monroe's the one that come up. He kind of did this after, but the next season he doesn't play as well and he doesn't get paid. I think Zion, you're looking at a different situation. Obviously, you have the true deal like you're talking about, but also he's a guy that, man, like he's already, I think, a top maybe like 30 player, 25 player. You know what I
mean? I got him top 20. Just individual.
20. Yeah,
I got him top 20. He's a locomotive. You can't stop him.
100%. I was being a little giving myself some cushion there, but I'm not mad.
I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna know. We don't press send, full send. He's a top 20 talent for sure.
So yeah, you're kind of in a different situation here. So if he does the 1-year qualifying offer, all of a sudden 2024, he's an unrestricted free agent, and he could go wherever he like. And if you're New Orleans, like, man, like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna have to move at that point. If this will be the most ultimate fuck up in NBA history if they let this man walk. And the way it's trending, it seems like this is, it's a couple years in the future, so it's nothing you have to worry about right now, but you got to be thinking about it.
You know what, Scott? We've been talking about it with the whole player empowerment and everything. You got to start thinking about it now. Because if you look around his peers at that age, their organizations are thinking about it now. You look at Luka and Mark Cuban, whatever Luka wants, we got to make this happen. We got to make this happen because these dudes are different now. And it's getting to the point, the Pelicans are such a bad franchise in the way they're being ran that players come out of college are they're going to be open about not wanting to be drafted by them. If you're Silver, you're going to have to make a decision. You need to relocate this team. You need to either have the owner sell the team. You got to figure this out, because what you don't want is the perception that the franchise is that bad that you have players come out of college being open about not wanting to go there.
It's an all bad situation for New Orleans.
You got Chris Paul, Anthony Davis, Zion Williamson. Like, come on now. It's gonna get worse at this point. It's these dudes coming out gonna be like, I don't want to go to New Orleans. I'm gonna stay at Duke, or I'm gonna stay at Kentucky. I don't want to go there.
Do you have any insight how the Pelicans could prevent this from happening? Maybe.
No.
So you think this is done deal?
I believe the insight that I would have had, the insight that I would have given.
I'm like, does his development factor into this at all? Like,
no,
if he takes a couple more steps,
no,
and pushes them to the playoffs by himself,
no, he shouldn't. First of all, he shouldn't put his body through that. They don't even deserve that. First of all, they don't even deserve that. They don't. No.
Yeah, but he's a competitor, man. He's he's a real competitor in the league.
He gonna do what he can do. But we saw AD, and we saw what he was able to do. And AD had talent in New Orleans. It's not easy, man, to get a team in the West to the playoffs by yourself. Like, that's not easy. And he's not a ball handler at the end of the day. So I'm gonna say this. Lonzo, I believe it's over. When Zion came out and said, I wanted Lonzo, I think this bridge is burned. I think that, to me, that was the final straw.
That was a big deal, man. I said it during the time, like, I just didn't understand it.
I didn't either.
I still don't.
You
especially because there's already question marks between the Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson dynamic, and you just kind of double down on it. Like, I don't know, the one piece on your roster that made sense with the your one piece superstar.
The one piece that we know the superstar wanted. He was vocal about. I think this is over. I don't believe there's anything that could have really helped this franchise. I know their head coach is Willie Green. This is his first coaching opportunity at the head coaching realm. So it's going to be interesting to see, what sets he runs offensively, how he features BI and Zion at the same time. It'll be interesting. But, man, at the end of the day, I don't expect him to do anything. And I think next year we might be looking at that qualifying offer.
Well, you know I'm rooting for it.
Oh, I'm all here for it.
I want to see it happen. This is kind of the next step to player empowerment. This is something that, free agency was a weird thing. Requests and trades with 3 years on your contract is a thing. But, man, like, if these guys really dictate their future and take it in their own hands, then these organizations are going to really have to change the way they function.
They're also have to change what instruments they play, because the piano apparently isn't getting Zion. So Griff gonna have to pick up a saxophone or something, because Zion was unimpressed at the piano, that he says never happened. But that story came from somewhere. That's all I gotta say. That I believe Griff in the bubble sat down at a piano and played something for Zion.
He's up there singing Billy Joel.
That's crazy. That story is crazy. Griff is at the piano flexing on Zion. Like, I mean, you can't write this stuff.
All right, man. Let's move on to our last topic, I think. The Ben Simmons situation. Recently, Ben has came back to Philly. He's back in the building. I heard Doc Rivers talk today. It sounds like he's still unsure if Ben's even going to play. I'm like, what's he in the building for then?
I'm just here so I don't get fired.
Yeah, exactly. Come on now. What are we doing? So I guess, like, with him coming back, what's this look like for 76ers? Because they're on a mission, man. They believe they could win. They believe they could win now. But from what I've seen historically in the NBA, it's hard to win when you have locker room distractions.
I think I just want to see what he looks like on the floor. I just want to see, because I got caught off guard. I'm sorry?
I was going to say, like, man, I've said this for, like, since he's been in the league, and he's looked the same every year.
Well, if he looks the same from last year, then it's going to be fine. They'll probably keep him the rest of the year. But If he come out, he pull the James Harden, and he don't want to, like, he doing half-ass passes. Fam, I did not know Harden was gonna go that route. This man dropped like 2 40-point triple doubles to start the year last season in Houston, and was like, "Well, y'all still not gonna trade me? Okay, my fault." And didn't know how to dribble a basketball, like he was stuck in Space Jam, and the Monstars took his talent. So if Ben Simmons goes out there, shows everyone he can still play, and then he getting the vibe that they don't want to move him, and he packs it in, oh no, it's gonna be a problem. He got to go, because don't think Silver didn't have anything to do with Harden being traded. That's a bad look for a product, to have a face of the league basically quitting on their team. You can't have that.
If you're Ben Simmons, I don't think that helps you because you're not James Harden. Like, I'm just sorry. Like, I don't know. Ben, to me, for the statue player, and I'm a Ben Simmons guy, I think
Mhm.
he can still be very successful. I would still think you could build a team with him. But man, he's getting so much attention for this, like, where he's maybe a top 40 guy, top 50 guy. You know what I mean? And people are, and I think you saw in the trade market, uh, he's just not really worth all the hoopla. So
Well, uh-huh.
go ahead. I was gonna
Well,
say, well,
that's
like
not, uh-huh.
Doc Rivers came out and he was like, their solution to this is, oh, we're gonna play him and Embiid less together. You know, what
Hmm.
everyone's been saying, like they can't play together, they can't play together, and but now they're finally like, oh, we're gonna just play them less. And I'm like, is that really the solution here?
No, it's absolutely not the solution, because you shrink your lineup when you get to the postseason. So long term, you and I both know the way rotations work. That's not the solution. But I would say, as far as what the trade value looks like, look, you and I both know this. We're not casuals. This is negotiations. If you know that someone has a distressed asset, you're not going to give what the value should be, because you know they have to get rid of the person. You and I both know Ben Simmons. You can still win with him. I believe he can be your best. He can be your best player on a championship team, but I believe he could definitely be your best player on a playoff team. And you can't say that for more than 20 dudes in the league. Like, Ben Simmons is a talent at the end of the day. And if he comes out and he's playing defense and he's locking people up and he's facilitating, he's doing what he's got to do, if you're Daryl Morey, unless someone comes knocking down on your door, or there's another star or superstar that's distressed and you can actually get equal compensation, they're probably going to stay pat. They're probably going to run it back. That's what I meant by, I believe the 76ers will keep him. But if he comes out and, again, it's a toxic environment between people, and it's awkward on the plane rides, and you know, I believe in that scenario, like you said, he's got to go. Do you think
Well,
ultimately he?
I was gonna say the Philly situation, them being in Philadelphia doesn't help because I don't see there's nothing he could do on the floor for the fans. They're gonna be back behind him. That fan base has kind of turned their back on him as well. So
Absolutely.
if you're the 76ers, like I don't think you could afford to keep him the whole year. I think he's got to get traded. Whether when it happens, that's the question to me. I see there's no scenario that this man's playing there the whole season.
You know what's going to happen? I think the Sixers have to save face. Bring him back. Have him on the court, and then there's going to be a quote unquote injury. And you
Quote
sit him.
unquote injury.
You sit him. You have him say all the right things, and then it's going to get to the point where he's not traveling with the team, and everyone's going to be aware we're working out talks. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to end up taking place. I'm with you. He's probably honestly not going to be actually playing for them, because there's just no way to get around the awkwardness. We all have that coworker. You go to work, you want to be cordial, even just being cordial. That there's still tension there. You know what I'm saying? When you don't like who you're working alongside. So I think an injury is going to take place, and he's going to get sat, and that's basically what's going to take place.
Well, Doc even said it. Like I said earlier, he said he's assuming Ben Simmons will play, but who knows? That's literally what he
I
said. But who
because
knows?
it because you know what, you're right. He can't play, bro. Those fans don't fuck with him.
No, the fan base has turned their back on him. And being in Philadelphia, there's no way you could run him back the whole year. And Embiid has come out against him. like slightly. You know
In
what I mean?
retaliation to Ben's comments. You
Yeah.
know,
So this guy's got to get out. And if this is a team that has championship aspirations, but I believe they do because they're still going to win games. You could win games with that roster without Ben Simmons. Um,
I have a question though.
what's up?
Why isn't this deal getting done for Karis LeVert and Malcolm Brogdon? Who says no? What's going on here?
This is the interesting thing. Okay, I don't know if this is because this it goes back to the player empowerment thing. This is
Okay.
what's kind of cool about this situation, right?
Okay. Okay.
You have Daryl Morey, who is one of the real competitive GMs who's not afraid to make moves, not afraid to shake things up, but he's digging his heels in. And he's actually got an ownership behind him digging their heels in, saying, yeah, no, don't deal. Like you don't see that. Usually, you never see that in the league anymore. But then on
No.
the flip side, you've got Ben Simmons and Clutch Sports who have gone all the way. And in my opinion, Clutch Sports kind of blew this. They lost their client $1 million. He's still on the team. He's, his publicity is not, he's not in high regards with anybody currently.
Mm-hmm.
But you have two sides that have kind of banged into a stalemate here, and they're just kind of both not budging, which is weird because, Ben, at the end of the day, he still does have 4 years on his contract. So do you want to bring in LeVert, who I don't know the contract details right off the top of my head.
Okay.
So I don't know. I think, in my opinion, it's probably Philly saying no. Obviously, it's
No,
the
yeah.
Daryl Morey thing.
Yeah. He's tripping. He's tripping.
He thinks
You're not
he's got to have his eye on something else.
You're not getting Dame Lillard. You're not getting CJ McCollum. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I like CJ McCollum. But if you're telling me I could get Karis LeVert and Malcolm Brogdon for Ben Simmons, I'm so sorry. I'm doing that deal. You have Joel Embiid. You're not trying to replace a dude who's the best player on your team. Daryl Morey's out here shopping Ben as if he's his best player on his team. He's not. If you were trading Joel Embiid, yeah, you say no to all those deals. You need a Dame, you need a Levine, you need a you need one of those dudes, a Zion or someone. Ben Simmons is a phenomenal player, but Malcolm Brogdon, Karis LeVert can ball. Malcolm Brogdon with Joel Embiid, I don't know what Daryl Morey is waiting on personally. I think he's reading the headlines like he's a savant GM and he's trying to hit that home run out the park. And I think he's hoping when the season starts, Portland don't look too hot and they pick up the phone. But that Indiana deal, I'm sorry, they get better. I think they're a better team.
Well, I ultimately agree with you that Daryl's tripping, but not necessarily for the specific trade details. My reasoning is more that I don't want this guy in my locker. I don't want Embiid and Doc and everybody answering questions about Ben Simmons every day. You know what I mean? Like, we got to focus up. We got, Joel has an injury history as well. We talked about it with the Brooklyn guys, but like, you got to strike when the iron's hot, man. So you gotta figure something out. You don't know how many cracks the apple you're gonna get with this team. We've seen this team for half a decade fail, and so it's like, do something, shake it up.
They got to do something as soon as possible because what you don't want, and I hope this does not happen, you do not want Joel to go down in the beginning of the year. Because if he does, Ben Simmons practically has zero trade value. He has, I'm not going to give you anything. I'm not going to give you anything. Because I know oh my gosh. No, you make a great point with Joel's history, his injury history. He has to stay healthy. He has to.
Yeah, so it's I don't know. I think I give this. I think he's dealt before Christmas.
What do you think takes place like the first 15 games or whatever before Christmas? Is he on the bench, DNPs? Is he playing? Or is like the buyout situation, and both sides have come together that we're gonna work on a way to get him out, and he's not even in the arena.
I think he's gonna play. I think he's gonna play limited minutes. I
Okay,
don't think
okay.
I don't I think because we saw this with Anthony Davis, right? We saw this with AD in his last like month or so with New Orleans, where they're just sitting him, giving him DNPs and scratches, and the league didn't like it. They got bad publicity from it and everything. I kind of see it being the same thing with the Ben Simmons situation. I don't think if you're a team, you could really get away with that anymore.
I agree with you, but you know what's a worse look? Him being in Philly on the bench and hearing those chants, because it's going to be ad nauseum. They're not going to stop. Those chants, you're not going to be able to put them on primetime television. The language that you'll be able to hear,
And no,
they're going
yeah,
to, it's going to get ugly, fam. Those fans are going to make he's not going to be able to be in the building. I don't know how he can be in the building.
that's what's so interesting to me, that it's gotten this far, and that you do have these two teams or these two sides really like digging their heels in, because all these points you make, like it's just not good with him there. And
No,
there's no good outcome. So how
no.
it's gone this far is beyond me, but we'll see how far it goes. I don't see it going too much further. I expected Ben Simmons deal relatively early in the season here.
I agree with you. If I was a betting man, I'd say I'd say 2 weeks into the season, whenever
Two
that is.
weeks, he's gone.
I think November 9th, 10th, around there, I think he has to be gone. Because at that point, they would have been in Philly already, and I just need to hit them fans. I'm going to have my popcorn ready. I just want to hit them fans.
I have a fun little team for you. What about the Clippers? What's going on with Paul George there? Could you flip him for Ben Simmons?
And have been there with Man, Kawhi when he gets back.
Mm-hmm.
But I like it. I like it.
Right?
We know all of Rich Paul's clients gonna end up in LA first of all. That's just, I don't know
Oh,
if the
Ben
quarters are there.
lives in LA anyways.
He just sold his house in Philly. He bought a house in LA, or he got hoes in different area codes.
Yeah. I mean,
Eh,
he was out here with the Jenners. Like he's
Oh,
got
okay,
his
okay. He got some property out here.
he's an LA guy.
Okay.
He's in the UCLA runs every once in a while. Yeah.
He is. Okay. You know what? I mean,
Do you like that if you're
yeah.
Philly?
Oh well, it can't happen because you have Doc Rivers as your head coach.
I forgot the docs.
Yeah, you
You
can't
can't bring
have
in
Doc
Paul
and Paul
George.
George together again. That's not gonna happen.
Uh, yeah, you
Yeah,
can't do that.
yeah. That
I mean,
that that ain't that damn sure ain't happening. I like Ben. If he could somehow wind up in
it sounds like to me like it's gonna be Ben for Brogdon straight up.
and you know what? If you're Philly, that's not a terrible trade-off.
It's pretty bad, dude. I love Brogdon. Brogdon's really good defensively. He's an efficient guy. He doesn't turn the ball over. He can shoot the ball really well, but you're losing value there.
Well, everyone loses value. People got to stop this notion like these trades go down, they fair. I haven't seen one fair trade since what? I don't even, they don't exist. There's no such thing as a 50-50 trade. I can't
What
think
about
of one.
what about the Carmelo one
To where?
to New York? Denver wins 50 games the next year. New York gets their star. They go to the playoffs.
Nah, Denver tripping. Then no, they lost that. They lost Melo. What the fuck? Nah. No, you don't lose Melo and then trying to stop. Get this
They
Melo
won
slander
they
out of
won
here.
57 games the
Get
next
this
year.
Melo slander out of here. They did not win that trade. That was not 50-50. You tripping. You tripping. What the fuck? Hey, that was good. That was good. That was good. I man, these trades don't go down 50-50. And at the end of the day, I think I would be with you. Like, that's a terrible trade if we didn't
Kwame
have to.
Brown for Pau Gasol.
Man, I love Memphis. You know, they are a great organization, by the way. I fully expect to see Jaw in purple and gold by like the summer of 28. They do so much business with us. I love Memphis. They some good people over there. There'll be no Memphis slander on this pod. I can tell you that. We, as Laker fans, we fucks with Memphis.
Memphis are in my books.
I would like them in. What do you think about Ben Simmons for KP?
Porzingis?
Mm-hmm. And you have Luka and Ben Simmons together.
Okay. I actually hate the deal for both teams, dude. Like off the bat, like because I want the ball in Luka's hands. I don't want the ball in Ben's hands. You know, Luka's a good enough distributor where I don't want him trying to do dribble drives and having to kick out to open Ben Simmons, and then and
Well,
then I don't know about having two lumbering 7-footers out there with KP and Embiid at the same time either.
that's very true. I do know that kid is on record saying that he wants the ball out of uh, Luka's hands a little bit more. He wants him a little bit more off ball and not so ball dominant.
Yeah, he doesn't want to run. I mean, they basically the last couple of years were doing the D'Antoni stuff in
Yeah,
Dallas. So I understand that, but you have to have the personnel.
I agree. I agree. I agree.
And Ben Simmons, while he can distribute and he can ball handle in transition, uh, half court, that team would not look very pretty.
Ooh, no, it wouldn't. You know what? If I was a betting man, somehow I believe he ends up in Portland.
We'll see. A lot to look forward to. We got the regular season next week, Tuesday. We watch our Lakers versus the Warriors. I think there are 3 more games that day. Yeah, other than that, I'm ready for the season. How about you?
No, I'm super excited. My Lakers aren't looking excuse me, my Lakers aren't looking too hot right now. But
Games don't count yet. Don't worry.
yeah, apparently I've heard that from 360. They all have been saying that, but they're not. No one's trying to lose a preseason game at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't think you're necessarily trying to win either. So nothing,
That that's
nothing to
true.
press
I
on.
think I agree. I agree. I think I'm just nervous about my Lakers. If I'm being honest with you, I'm not panicking, but I'm a little. It's gonna take some time. It's gonna take. I might be taking back the whole. They're winning 63 games. I might have to dumb that down a little bit. I feel safe around 58 wins, but that I don't see them winning 60. I think they're gonna have to. It's gonna take a little longer than I anticipated for 360 to gel.
So it's a long season. You know, LeBron historically is he's had some slow starts, but at the end of the day, I still expect him to be there. All right, I think we're gonna wrap it up, man.
All right.
All right. Good night, people. We will see you next week, probably.